My name is Richard, and in this video I will present the findings from our recent paper on delay-facilitated self-assembly in compartmentalized systems. But what is self-assembly? Self-assembly is an important process in biology and nanotechnology where simple building blocks autonomously form complex structures with various functions. Examples are virus shells, artificial nanocapsules made from DNA, bacterial flagella, or ribosomes. These assembly processes often rely sensitively on molecular interactions and environmental cues that are theoretically well understood in homogeneous reaction compartments. In nature and nanoscale applications, however, one often observes spatially localized assemblies in inhomogeneous environments. Bacterial cells might need to organize assemblies in space, for instance their flagella, to make sure that they form in the right number and at the right places. Eukaryotic cells have plenty of spatial organization as well. One of many compartments in such a cell is the nucleus, and inside of it the nucleolus, where ribosomes assemble. These compartments, and many more, can be physically separated volumes in the interior of the cell, but they could, for instance, also represent the cytosol and membrane of the cell. We are interested in understanding the interplay between self-assembly and the spatially inhomogeneous environment of biological or synthetic systems. To develop such an understanding, we start by reducing the immense complexity of a cell to only two different chemical environments. We ignore all the details of the real compartments and imagine them essentially as two connected containers that can exchange particles. The questions we want to answer in our paper are: can we understand the influence of changing the geometric parameters, meaning the relative sizes and exchange of compartments on self-assembly processes? And is there any benefit to coupling compartments with an exchange rate that is slow compared to the reaction timescales? Similar to how we break down the complexity of real cells and their compartments, we will also simplify the complexity of real assemblies and their building blocks. One common property of the example structures we mentioned previously is that they reach a state of completion, where no more building blocks can be added to the structure. A very simple model of such structures is a linear ring consisting of identical building blocks, again ignoring all the complexity of real assemblies within cells. In our abstract model, only two reactions between the building blocks are possible. Two single blocks can nucleate to start forming a new structure, and single building blocks can attach to existing structures, leading to structure growth. These two reactions can proceed until all building blocks are used up. To get an intuition about this model, let's look at the assembly dynamics for slow, intermediate, and fast nucleation relative to a fixed growth rate. For fast nucleation, many nuclei form, depleting the system of free subunits. This leads to so-called kinetic traps, where no or few target structures are completed and also no free subunits remain. For intermediate nucleation, typically structures grow larger. Completed target structures start to emerge, while some kinetic traps remain. Lastly, for slow nucleation, a single nucleation event is followed by a series of growth events, finishing the started structure. Then another slow nucleation event is necessary, which triggers another growth cascade. Finally, all subunits are incorporated into finished target structures. To quantify this effect, we can measure the final yield as we change the nucleation to growth ratio. The final yield describes what fraction of the initial subunits is turned into completed structures. For fast nucleation compared to growth, we again see that the yield stays close to zero. followed by a regime of intermediate nucleation to growth ratios, where the final yield increases but some kinetic traps remain. This is followed by a narrow range where nucleation is just slow enough compared to growth to avoid these kinetic traps. Since even slower nucleation just slows down the assembly, we call this the optimal assembly regime. Now imagine you are a cell or an experimentalist in the lab. Controlling the nucleation to growth ratio would allow you to always find the sweet spot to quickly get to a high yield. However, this ratio is often fixed by external factors, and we might be stuck at a suboptimal value. In this scenario, is it possible to use spatial separation to still assemble any finished structures in reasonable times? To answer this question, we turn back to our simplified two-compartment model. We assume that the chemistry in both compartments leads to the same suboptimal nucleation to growth ratio, but in one compartment, both nucleation and growth are fast, whereas in the other compartment, both reactions are slow. This leads to three important parameters: tau, which describes how much slower the reactions are in the slow compartment, and the two geometric control parameters, namely the compartment volumes and the rate of particle exchange between compartments. To investigate this question, we can now look at the final yield as we change the volume of the slow compartment relative to the total volume, and the particle exchange rate. Importantly, if exchange is very fast, the two compartments represent a single well-mixed compartment. If exchange is very slow, on the other hand, both compartments are essentially isolated and independent of each other. In both cases, we expect no final yield, since both compartments feature a suboptimal nucleation to growth ratio. But what happens at intermediate exchange rates? First, let us keep the compartment volumes fixed and see what happens as the slow compartment becomes slower, that is, what happens as we reduce tau. Starting with two equal compartments at tau equals 1, we see that in this case no yield is possible, independent of the exchange rate. However, as we reduce tau, a region of increasing yield for intermediate exchange rates emerges, until almost perfect yield is possible. This is really exciting because it shows that spatial separation can lead to high final yields in situations where no yield is possible in a spatially homogeneous system. Now we keep tau fixed at this small value and also analyze the impact of the relative compartment volumes. We can observe that no yield is possible if the slow compartment is too small, but already if the slow compartment is as large as the fast compartment, some yield is possible. This improves further as the slow compartment gets even bigger and the final yield reaches almost 100%. Importantly, for all volume fractions, an improved final yield is only possible for intermediate exchange rates that are neither too slow nor too fast. We can understand why this intermediate exchange rate is important by looking at individual particles assembling in the two compartments. The fastest process is assembly in the fast compartment. So before any particles can exchange, the fast compartment already reaches a kinetic trap. Only now do particles start to exchange between the compartments. Any subunits that now reach the fast compartment find mostly unfinished structures and thereby contribute to finishing targets instead of creating new nuclei. By keeping a reservoir of available subunits and supplying it into the fast compartment at a limited rate, we can finish all the initially nucleated structures and recover perfect yield. This works even though none of the compartments could produce yield on their own, and we call this mechanism delay-facilitated self-assembly. Again, the effect only works for intermediate exchange rates. If exchange is too fast, multiple subunits can reach the fast compartment in quick succession and start nucleating, leading to new kinetic traps. If it is too slow, on the other hand, the slow compartment will start to nucleate new structures on its own and cannot retain enough free subunits. Okay, that was a lot to take in, so let's summarize what we have learned. Self-assembly in a well-mixed environment can be controlled by tuning individual reaction rates. A low nucleation to growth ratio will ensure high yield by avoiding kinetic traps, but making it too low leads to slow assembly. Unfortunately, controlling this ratio in practice might be difficult or even impossible. However, if we can separate the system into two compartments with different reaction timescales, we can reach high yield by tuning the exchange rate instead. For the right range of exchange rates, the slow compartment acts as a reservoir, providing building blocks during assembly. We effectively traded controlling individual reaction rates with controlling the geometry of our system, which is often much more accessible. If you want to learn more about the details of this work, please have a look at our paper. There we discuss further that the effect of delay-facilitated assembly is robust and even works in different, more realistic compartment geometries and different assembly models. Another point we have not discussed in this video are the assembly times in the two-compartment system. They are generally slower than in a fine-tuned well-mixed system. However, there's another choice of coupling two suboptimal compartments that reaches assembly times closer to the well-mixed optimum, which we discuss in more detail in our paper. To check out the PNAS publication, please follow this QR code, and to cite either the paper or this video, you can use the DOIs in the video description. Finally, I want to thank all the amazing people who made this video summary possible, and also thank the agencies who funded our research. Thanks for watching.